Hi, this is Allison Durant coming to you from my studio in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I'm just gonna slip off this bracelet as it was bumping into the bottom of my table. And I thought a fun way to start the video, or at least a fun way for me, would be to just freely start painting colors that I love in a very abstract landscape format. So this is a watercolor video. I'm using a variety of watercolors. I love different brands. I love mixing them, and I sometimes love not knowing what colors I'm looking at, just as though to discover new colors and just kind of have a bit of that element of surprise. So right now I'm dipping into Robin's Egg, which is on this beautiful birch, I think it's birchwood, it could be wrong, but this beautiful non-plastic natural palette by Beam Paints. And I'm just gonna go through that green that I have down here, that really dark green, and just add in this color because I'm just feeling like that color really was speaking to me in the moment. And so if you're painting along with me, I'm hoping that you're not really overthinking it and you're just enjoying playing with some colors maybe you don't play with very often and having fun. So I am now dipping into, I think it's, what's this one? Is it Spring Apple? It is by Stone Ground Paint Co. And it is their gouache, which is sort of like watercolor and acrylic combined. And I'm just not overthinking what I'm doing. I'm just kind of playing. I'm gonna add in some fall poplar yellow from Beam Paints. A very, very beautiful, vibrant yellow. And just kind of adding it in however I feel. And I'm watching the green kind of move over into the yellow and blend. And immediately I'm drawn to this opera pink. This is Bright Pink by Daniel Smith Watercolors. This bright opera pink, it's one of my kind of go-to colors that I really love in my work. And I'm just deciding how I want to incorporate it into this painting. And I just sort of want to put it down here. I'm squinting my eyes and I'm just seeing if I like what I'm doing. And I was just going to put it in one spot and I just wanted to carry it down. I'm just going to look through the camera lens so you can all see me. And immediately I want to use a light pink. So I'm doing what I call color craving exercises. And I'm going to grab my, I believe this is my Art Nouveau set. I can't recall exactly the colors because these are mixed up. This is a homemade palette from Kuretake, a Japanese paint company, and their watercolors are more like a gouache, like an opaque watercolor. And I love, love these pinks. And I'm just feeling like bringing in more of that light pink in this area. And I think I'm just gonna pull it in here and just watch it blend. And now wet my brush and just move that around this area here. My water's a little bit greenish color. That's okay. This is just an abstract landscape and an exercise in relaxation. And I am not sure what it is. I've just been craving landscapes, but a different style than my art poetry paintings, or I paint mountains a lot, watercolor mountain scenes, because I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. They're pretty much what I see when I take my dog for a walk every morning. Of course, at a distance, but off in the distance are the beautiful Rocky Mountains. And I just feel like I had to fulfill that desire to paint landscapes in a different way. So I thought I would just share my inspiration with you all. And I'm going to switch over to, I'm just trying to decide, maybe I want to do There's some beautiful turquoise in this Kuretake set, this Art Nouveau set. I believe this one was from Art Nouveau. And while my watercolor is still wet, I'm just gonna drop in this color. And I think I want to repeat that color in the upper corner over here, and maybe just more of a sort of a rounded rectangular shape, not overthinking it, just adding that shape. And then the next move that I really want to make is repeating that rectangular shape over here. And I see when I, oh, that's a happy accident, when I sort of let the water, I added quite a bit of water to my brush, and I touched that green abstract hill, mountain, whatever, you know, whatever you're thinking it is, because this is abstract art. I really like how that blended in this area. It's really a beautiful thing that I did not plan. Immediately, I want to grab this light sky blue from the Kuretake Art Nouveau set and just add it in there. I'm really, really happy with how it feels to add that in, and I'm going to add a little bit of blue in here, maybe a little bit of blue down there, and let that blend. And I'm working on Arch's 140-pound cold-pressed watercolor paper, and I really love working on this paper. It is an investment, so, you know, use what you can afford, of course. And I also really like Canson mixed media watercolor paper, Canson XL, or, you know, even 140-pound, the Michaels in-house brand Artist Loft is very good as well. So, you know, using what you have. I know there's a number of you that have written to me, and you're in really remote places where you don't have the ability to go to art stores, and you may not have access to delivery systems like we do here in Canada, North America. So just using what you have. And really, this is just an exercise for me in exploring with you all what I just feel creatively needs to come out. And I'm just going with it. So this is something I would do off camera. And I'm trying to just kind of share what's inspiring me in the moment and getting that out on camera, just in the hopes that it might inspire somebody that's watching. So one of you. And landscapes, I mean, the possibilities are endless, and we'll all have a different interpretation of a landscape and what appeals to us. I'm feeling like these colors aren't really calling my name. I have to pull it together a bit more. I really love this color. This is wild salmon from Beam Paints in their little canvas wrapped paint stones. And another favorite color, pumpkin spice, so from Beam Paints. And I just feel like this is too bright of yellow, so I'm gonna just try and dial it down by adding this pumpkin spice. And my paintbrush is flicking, and I'm kind of going with it, because that's okay. It gets me out of my head, and I often like whatever it is better when those happy accidents occur. So just kind of tapping and encouraging those drips, because they just wanted to come out. And I think I'm going to add in my favorite color, Orca, in this little shell from Beam Paints. And just trying to decide, where do I want to fit this in? It's still wet down here, and I really, really like the light pink, and I feel like I kind of want to create, what do I want to do? Maybe just some smaller smaller shapes that are almost like hills, but blending in with the pink, maybe pulling it down a little bit. And I really like that effect. Just gonna peek through my camera to see what you can see. So if you're painting with me, I know a lot of you work on other projects when you're watching me, or maybe you're not painting at all. Maybe like me, sometimes I put on art podcasts and, you know, I clean the house and art videos. And let me just think. Okay, I am going to put in just a block here. But whatever you're doing, it's just sort of allowing yourself to go with what you're feeling in the moment. So if you are painting alongside me, you know, using the supplies you have, getting out colors that you know you love. And if you're just starting out, that's a great opportunity to just explore your supplies. And doing it on paper is just such a non-threatening way of working. And that is a really big block of that paint orca, but I love it. It just, I feel like it pulled everything together. And I'm just going with, again, colors. I'm craving in the moment. I'm trying to branch out of, I think of trees and branches and landscapes. So as I say, branch out, I just had to say that. But I'm so used to painting these abstract, dreamy watercolor backgrounds in what I call like the sky, in this setting of blank space, white space. I think of it as resting space for the eye. And so this is very different than how I would normally approach sitting down. And, you know, if I was really thinking, okay, I'm going to sit down and paint a landscape, I would be too focused on the rhythm that I already have in the style that I have found. And so what I'm trying to do is not judge the feeling of, okay, this is very different than how I normally paint. And I did have someone that knows my work really well, my friend, and actually sort of neighbor. We live really close, and Kathy, she's purchased a number of my paintings. I'm so grateful. And she is now painting. I'm kind of losing my train of thought. Oh, but it was such a compliment because she had written to me. She knows me very well and had said, you know, I see your new work. I'm really loving what you're doing. And it still looks so much like you. And that was really great to hear because, you know, when you're trying on different kind of styles, or like if you're approaching your art differently, you do wonder, is it still going to have my voice, my authentic, you know, can someone tell that it's sort of authentically me? So I think I'm going to let this one dry. I'm pretty happy with it. It just made me think that if you walk into an art exhibition or a gallery and there's 100 works and you have 10 pieces of your own artwork within those 100 artworks that are all just randomly spaced out, you want your art clientele, your audience, people that love your art, to go in and just be able to immediately zero in on your paintings. That's sort of something that I have worked really hard to get to that place. And I suppose that's recognition, right? And it just shows that you have found a style that you feel is authentic, but also is recognized as authentic by people that know you or know your artist style. And so I often think about that. Oh, so funny. Now I'm just starting to do more layers here because I'm talking and I'm distracted and I'm so relaxed. I'm really enjoying the process. So I'm just continuing to kind of add, you know, these pebble marks or whatever they are. I'm going to add some in here just as repetition, which is a principle or, you know, design element. But I did really, when I was taking some business courses, when I first got into painting, you know, a lot of it was during 2020. So I just was so lucky to be able to invest in courses and business classes. And I remembered that stuck out with me, that if I had my work in a place, I would want to stand out and want people to know that that is my work. If they, you know, went into a show and they had to figure out where I was. So right now this has blended in quite a bit, but I'm just really thinking how excited I am about going back in with paint pens and permanent markers and wax crayons, and the possibilities are endless in mark making over top of this dried watercolor. I'll add in my signature moon, and I'm just gonna clean off my brush and switch out my water. I had this funny thought. So I'm using my water jar, which had peanut butter in it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't paint a painting where I've done watercolor with this jar in case, I know people have such severe nut allergies. I had a laugh. I was like, oh, if there's any like little bit of peanut butter in there, they will be allergic to my art. Okay, I laugh so much sometimes after I say things. So, okay, I've got to like refocus. I'm going to set this aside. So again, this was on a block of Arches 140-pound watercolor paper. And it's expensive. So I paid $69 at the local art store. That's Canadian dollars. And this is a 9x12-inch block and 140 pounds cold press. So I paid approximately $70 for 20 sheets, and that was Canadian. I have a small artist discount at a few of the local art stores, so every bit helps. But, you know, using what you have and just thinking of it as play, as practice. And yeah, if you love what you came out with and you are able to photograph it and capture it in a photo, that would just take it to a whole new level, and you could eventually make a print of your work or reproduce your work. So not to get too stuck on, you know, just to give yourself that freedom to paint on material that you might have that's accessible. And there are ways of kind of, you know, if you are doing, I know a lot of you are just doing this for yourself, for relaxation, but, you know, right now I'm sort of in the thick of my art becoming this business, which I'm learning about. And for me, you know, if I'd painted a painting on paper that wasn't quite as, I guess, high quality, I know that I could do a reproduction, a print of my work. I could take it into a digital form. I've never tried Procreate, but I know a lot of artists use Procreate. So that might be just, again, like things to think about. Lots of options. And I want to show you, this is a painting very much like what I had just done. This is dry, and this was just the other night I sat down and I just had to get out the inspiration that I was feeling. So I didn't have this image in my head, but you can see that gorgeous orca color. And if I didn't have that orca and the shimmer, I mean, this whole painting would be different. For me, I light up with pinks. This is that bright opera pink mixed with maybe a little bit of orange. I have my moon in there, which I just feel like kind of grounds the painting. It is these organic shapes with that round moon, which is part of my voice with my work. I have the moon in a lot of my work, especially the watercolor work. I discovered that I loved that look of almost rocks, or, you know, little pebbles, or just those smaller irregular shapes, and that shimmer. So this reminds me of, actually, it's so funny. I think of red rock. My husband and I like climbing, my husband more than myself. And we went to Las Vegas, but we went to go climbing. And just looking at this reminds me of a red rock. It was very, very hot. I remember I did not do well, but good memories of going. And I just see like abstract trees in here, and I am just so excited to do mark making over top of this background. So I'll show you a few more. I do love to paint in multiples, and I can't remember if I had painted, I think I had painted that first one I just showed you one evening, and then the next evening I wanted to do a quick video for Instagram, a reel, and I'm pretty sure it was this one that I had done a quick hyperlapse video, so it's super fast, and I was just so excited to get out of my head and paint this style without the mark making over top. So this is just calling my name for mark making, and I'm not going to get to the mark making in today's video, but I think it would be awesome to do that maybe in subsequent videos. So I am going to try and create playlists on YouTube, and you know, just make it a little bit easier to follow. If you're not a subscriber, I know it can be really hard to kind of follow. When I initially started YouTube, it was just about a year ago, and I really didn't even know I could create playlists, and how I didn't know how YouTube, I really had never watched much for YouTube. So, okay, I'm really sidetracking here, but I have that beautiful, those pinks that I love. I have the moon, which I'll go over again because I want it to be more gold and shimmery. That orca is, again, I think it just pulls this whole landscape painting together. Not finished. This one is another horizontal landscape. And you can just see I repeated elements that I was enjoying. I really loved, I was using so much green and that awesome robin's egg, that light turquoise kind of aqua color from Beam Paints. I was playing around with the Kuretake Gansai Japanese paints because they're more saturated and opaque, and I really liked those next to the transparency of the watercolor. Oh, and this one was in here sort of by accident, but this is a good example of my style. Often I would put a mountain range on here, very pointy triangular mountains, but this is the initial stage for me. Is I do color craving exercises in palettes that I love, and I just get out of my head and get colors down. And I think I had done this on another video as well. So I look forward to going back to it, and it may become mountains, but I really like how I'm kind of merging that style into something different, because this is very different. But hopefully when I add the mark making, like Kathy said, it will still really look like me. So we'll see. I'm going to show you just a few other examples before I move on here. This was in my art journal. So this art journal, this is called the Handbook Journal Co. by Speedball Art Products. And I painted right on the back of this cover because I just can't help it. So this is all watercolor on this hardcover, and this is me editing what I didn't like. I had a botanical here, and I was struggling with my white fine point paint pen, so I had covered it up. Now I can't wait to go back to it. I really like it, and it's back to a starting ground for me. So again, packing tape. This is a landscape I had probably started, a year ago, and it's funny, I don't think of myself as a landscape artist, but this was just play, and it's unfinished, but I do plan to go back and finish it. This is a mix of watercolor and acrylic paint, and I was really into stripes and neons, and I love this violet color. This is really, really beautiful. I believe, I know you all are going to ask. I'm not using this palette today, but this is one of my favorite palettes by Mozart, and it's called Komorebi. So there it is there. Komorebi. So this is the Komorebi color chart, and this is Hyacinth Violet number 25. So isn't that just the most beautiful color? I do remember investing in a Daniel Smith watercolor that I thought was going to come out like this. And it was the one watercolor I purchased that it absolutely, the binder was just coming out. I couldn't mix it. The color didn't take. And as much as I love all my other Daniel Smith watercolors, I was quite disappointed in that one. So that was probably a one-off. I know they're a very good company, but anyways, this color I have found with Mozart Komorebi. They have a beautiful group of neons, and I have done, for those of you that are subscribers, I have done watercolor swatching with these paints. I think this probably had fallen off my table and it's out of order right now, so I'll just put that back and reorganize it at some point, or not. This is an art poetry painting with the watercolor background I want to go back to. This is me just one evening. I just needed to get these earthy colors out of my head. So for me, this is an art poetry landscape in the sky where I will definitely add words, add something, you know, poetic as well as mark making. And it's just so cool to be able to flip through and have these backgrounds ready, calling my name when I feel like it. And I think that's how I tend to be so prolific. It's because I just don't really worry about what it looks like other than how did it make me feel when I painted it. I need to enjoy that process and get out the colors, get out the marks, enjoy just painting. I laugh because I tell my husband I have to go paint my feelings. So I know some people, you know, people with addiction or, you know, that struggle with, say, food cravings or eating their feelings. My husband and I would say, I do that sometimes, some nights. You know, there's so many different ways of processing our feelings, but oh, and it's so funny, I forgot that I had written right down here, paint your feelings, because I was thinking about landscapes, and this really did not totally come out as a landscape. I have this random abstract building here, and I was thinking of these little tents, almost like, I'm not a camper, like, but they look like little tents and just little hideaways. I think my son and I probably were talking about making tents at home, and he loves to put blankets over things. And anyway, those just came out. I'm kind of sidetracking. Oh yeah, but paint your feelings. If you really stick with, okay, how are you feeling in the moment, and not judging what you're putting down as you're going, that is the key. And if you can just turn off that judgment, even if it takes every single time you pick up the paintbrush or your mark making tool, and you just have that little voice saying, oh, I don't know if this is going to mess it up, I don't know if this is going to be good enough, turn it off, get rid of it, acknowledge it, just let it go. And you will just produce so much beautiful, authentic work if you can turn off that voice. So I just wanted to share with you this particular art journal page. I'm a huge promoter of art journaling. And I really do like this Speedball handbook. I don't know a lot about the company, but the paper is wonderful. It really makes my watercolor look awesome, even if I use cheaper watercolors or more affordable watercolors. And I am vegetarian, trying to go vegan, and I do my bit where I can. And this is a non-leather cover, and I didn't realize how many art supplies use animal products, paints, etc. So I'm really just trying to be more mindful of my values, and I just thought I'd share. I know you'll probably wonder what brand this is. It comes in other shapes and sizes too. So if I was to invest in another journal, I'll just see if I have some other ones. It was really hard to find non-leather ones. This is one I still have not finished, or I just love to work on multiple different things at the same time. This is actually an original painting. I believe this is in my art poetry card deck, and it's called It's the Silver Lining. That's what the title of this original piece on paper is, and it wasn't until I was playing around with this new silver fine lining pen that there's so much darkness in this like abstract dreamy landscape in the sky, and I was thinking of brighter days ahead, holding on to hope, but also finding the silver lining. And just seeing that silver lining, the way the light picked it up, seemed very beautiful to me. So that is how I titled this tiny little page. I had an art client actually see my post on Instagram. She reached out, she wanted to purchase this painting, and I said, well, it's really small. So she ended up blowing it up. I had my printer make a very large canvas print of it, and it looks so beautiful. So I had taken this out to give to her when she came by my studio to talk art with me. That reminds me, I have some exciting news to share. But anyways, she had me make a big canvas print of this. So it's out of my journal, and that was information overload. But I am moving into a new art studio, and it's, what is it right now? I mean, we're just moving into May here soon, and I'm so excited. I'm gonna have way more space, and it's gonna be away from my home, so I can leave the house and maybe maintain better work-life balance, office hours, because it's just too tempting. My art life has become a business at this time, like more than I could ever imagine. I'm so busy, and it's such a good problem to have. But I needed to figure out how I could do things more on an automated level, and just be able to protect my painting time, because I've just been so busy with fulfilling orders. And I'm not sure why I'm showing you this now. This doesn't have a ton of landscapes. Some very, oh, I know. Yeah, I wanted to show you, well, those are leather bound journals. But there's just some really great sizes. So this again this is great because it shows what kind of journal it is. I had purchased this at Inglewood Art Store here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, but I can imagine Speedball, they're a big company. If you look up Handbook Journal Co., I can see if I can link it. It's a 300-gram watercolor paper. It's acid free. There's 60 pages. This is the square. I think this is about 8 inches or maybe 9 or 10 inches square. That's my guess. Does it say on here? It should. So this is 8.25 inches square, which is also 209 millimeters. But yeah, really, really wonderful to work in. So I'll let you do your research for that. And I'll link what I can in my description. And how did I got so far off track. Well, this is the reason I wanted to do a video on landscapes, and I did show you all this Uppercase magazine. This is printed here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. This is issue number 61. It's all about landscapes. And this magazine, I sat down last week to look through it, and I barely even got through 6 pages because it was just so interesting and just amazing, you know, book recommendations. So these book recommendations are by Janine Van Gool and Finley Dresser. And I just love everything about this magazine. It's they're very conscientious about environmental issues, and this is a cute little advertisement here for something called Rescue Shirt. So so I'm in Calgary, a Calgary artist and graphic designer. They had started this company I'm just looking here. But anyway, they repurpose shirts that would otherwise be put in the landfill. And so that's just an example of some of the artists and the work that is in this magazine. And so I won't go through this because I did go through a fair bit in my last video, but it was this piece that just really spoke to me. So this is by Anne Stolp at Sunny Spot Studio. So Sunny Spot Studio is all one word, and I can also put that in my description. And I think it's because there's so much beautiful pink in here, gorgeous colors. I love all her tiny details with line work. There's a little hummingbird in the bottom right, a little bumblebee in the bottom left, and oh, and actually there's several. So that looks like a little moth down here, or a butterfly. Really beautiful. So all the work is really inspiring, but this piece just stood out for me because of what I like to paint and my style. And I think that is how I got into painting this horizontal. You know, it's kind of got the hills. I probably wouldn't add in the little flowers, but I love the geometrics, and I do use a lot of geometric shapes in my work. So I'll probably go back to this, and I want to look up this artist to see. I know I'm following her on Instagram now, but I want to see what else she has, and just see if all of her work is, you know, got that similar feel, or if this is maybe just something more unique to her landscapes that were chosen for the publishing of the magazine. This one too, actually now I just see more inspiration in all of this. And this page actually, Anne Bielek, I really like how these are sort of watercolor backgrounds with, or acrylic, I'm not sure, but with this tiny line work in the trees. I find that really inspiring, and all these little red, you know, abstract flowers. And just a heads up that Janine, who you would purchase this magazine through, the editor here, publisher, editor, and designer. She does so much work. She often does subscriber discounts, and she encourages people to add a discount by back orders or issues that may have been phased out, or they're slightly imperfect. And I really like that and appreciate that as an artist, because I would have no problem getting, you know, issues that were, say, from 6 months ago or a couple years ago. I would still feel just as inspired, even if it wasn't like super current. So just so you know, that is a really nice option. So it was this book that inspired me, and that painting we were just looking at here reminds me a tiny bit, just the trees, of the work of Claire Bremner. And I think it's Claire Bremner, but I'll have to get back on that. And I was thinking about how to do this on an acrylic level. So first I was doing wild collage. So again, if you've been following me, you know I was making these homemade papers out of old paintings, where I just took an old, you can use like a heavy cardboard card, or like an old gift card, and I just put solid colors on, but allowed some of the work to show through. And I started these little canvases. So this is one, and I think I'm probably going to do sailboats, because my love of the ocean, and my parents are from Nova Scotia. I spent a lot of my childhood in Nova Scotia, right by the water of the Atlantic Ocean. And this is, again, another really abstract canvas that is a collage landscape. And you can see my love of polka dots. This is actually from a paper bag, and then this is tissue paper with those polka dots. Probably it will get covered up. And an old painting down here, I was practicing spray ink, so you can kind of see that neon coming through. And etching up here, so I was using something to scratch through and have the background come forth. And I love to do the edges, so I used to be very impatient about doing the edges of my work, but I realized that it's just so much smarter than trying to pull it together at the end and paint edges. And you know, everybody likes different color borders, mats, edging, whereas if the artist continues the painting around the edge, it just takes away from that decision making, and it's pretty cool. So I've tried to incorporate that when I am choosing, say, collage piece. I take it right over the edge, and it's more work, but it makes me really happy when it comes time to finish the painting and post it for sale. This is a little bookmark that my printer, Ken Chow here from Calgary, had made me. So those are my mountain landscapes. That's more what my work, you know, people are very familiar with this type of work from me. And I was talking about Claire Bremner, and oh my gosh, this is so big. I'm gonna fall off my stool. Gotta move my stool back. Thank goodness I am expanding my studio because I am running out of space. I'm just gonna take you up. So holding on. Hopefully my microphone isn't tapped too much. And there she is. Ooh. Oh, don't want the water to go over, that's for sure. So this is too big to show you. My tripod is up the whole way, but this is my work in progress of my acrylic version of an abstract landscape. So different than what I normally do, but super fun. And I can't wait to finish it. And it was inspired by Claire. And so I'm just gonna set that one aside. I have to figure out how to pull it together. And I do more acrylic painting over the summer because I like to paint outside and with better ventilation. This is the other one I'm working on, and it was really about color craving exercises and getting energy into the landscape. So this is going to be, of course, the skyline, and I'm totally going to revamp this painting. But I know you all have sort of wondered what direction I'm going, and wanted to see more of my work. So just these are works in progress. And so I can't wait to go back to these and do the mark making. And because they're on paper, it's way less intimidating. So I'm gonna just set those aside here in my studio, and let's see, I think what we're gonna do, well, I had some ideas for, oh, I need to bring you all back down. We did not pull a card from my art poetry deck today. I haven't pulled a page from my artist almanac, and I wanted to just get back in a bit of a rhythm. Oh, there's just the sweetest little bunny that just ran across the street. So nice to see we have some bunnies because we have a lot of bobcats here, and cougars, wildlife, coyotes. So it's just nice to see there's some survivors outside right now. Okay, so let's start with the 2024 Artist Almanac. And I put a little piece of Japanese washi tape here just to mark today, which is Monday, April 29th. And I really love this little piece. This is very much an abstract work, and it could be an abstract landscape. You know, with landscapes on my mind, I almost see these shapes that were outlined in the white as, you know, it could be clouds. It's really, really neat. These could be trees. They could be more like silhouettes of people, maybe flowers. And I really like that about abstract art, how we all see something a bit different and we all feel something different. And how, you know, I know for myself, I really respect people that can paint very realistically or draw, but I don't get the feeling from those works, even if they're incredible. I get so much feeling from abstract work. And again, I think it's just because I interpret it and I interpret it in a way and I connect with it because it is something unique. How do you say? Anyways, I really love the idea of not fully showing what, as an artist, you're trying to create. Like, for instance, I'm not trying to make those landscapes look like landscapes. I'm just putting down colors and shapes and marks that I love, and it just pulls together. And the way it's interpreted, it really doesn't matter, right? It's just about, as the artist, enjoying the process and hopefully having a connection with the person that's seeing the art or purchasing the art. Or there's Tuesday. I like to do a little sneak peek. I don't know how many videos I'm going to be able to do over the next number of months, because I am going to be moving into a really big brand new studio, and it's going to be quite a process, and I'll have moved in by hopefully September of this year. So I also, with the summer and the beautiful days, I'll see how much I get in my studio to film, but I may be a bit quieter. We'll just have to kind of see how that goes. I wanted to just quickly, randomly go to my book, How to Be More Tree, illustrated by Annie Davidson. In a number of my videos, I've just loved picking a page in this book randomly. And oh, isn't that interesting that I would be talking about authenticity and, you know, standing out if you were to walk into a gallery or an art space. And this is the Hornbeam tree. And I'm just going to read you this page, and I will link this book in the description. It's a really lovely book, and I love how we're talking about landscapes, and I often think of Mother Nature, of course, with landscapes, trees, bushes, flowers, new growth. I know not all of you are going into spring where you are in the world, and just how to be more tree, how to be more free in our art, free in our life, and finding our voice through the doing. So showing up, and you know, you will find your authentic voice if you just continue to love the process and turn off the judgment. So let's just read about the hornbeam. It's sometimes difficult to be wholly ourselves in every situation. There's often a temptation to change who we are to please the crowd. Learning to be authentic means accepting and enjoying the bark we're in. Trees don't waste chlorophyll trying to be something they're not. They focus on their own growth without worrying about what everyone else is up to. Take the humble hornbeam. It doesn't grow particularly tall or produce fancy flowers or delicious fruit, but it's been around for many thousands of years, growing strong and solid without expecting a round of applause. And I have to say, there's so many bits in here that I feel kind of touch deeply in me. I historically have been what I would say a people pleaser, and I feel like I do put a lot of pressure on myself sometimes, and I really have to learn how to find balance and keep myself in check, learning to say no, and making sure I have that. You know, I'm staying true to myself, and I prioritize self-care versus, you know, trying to please, even if, but I'll let you kind of interpret this in your own way. It just really resonates with me, especially today. And we were talking about authenticity. finding our voice in art, finding our own style. And I think that's what so many of us are longing for. And it's just about finding a way to introduce creativity into your life where it fits in with your lifestyle, there's no pressure, and you can just find a way to do it and enjoy that process. You will get there. So some of the little landscapes that I wanted to show you, these are little canvas proofs, just some canvas that otherwise would have been tossed out by my printer. It was really kind. He makes me these little either bookmarks or these canvas prints. So this is canvas material. And these are just some little works that I have done that I think of, as landscapes in my art poetry style. And I just wanted to share some of these with you. You've seen my mountains. And this one I had titled Alberta Roots. And that title just came to me. I think I was just playing around with trying to make this into an art poetry style painting, and it became this abstract landscape, and I just let go and I started to put in these mountain ranges, some that look finished, some that are more abstract. I really, really love the colors and how this turned out. And of course, Alberta Roots. I was born and raised here in Alberta, Canada. And then this one, Elemental Landscapes. This one is called Magical Sky. This one's called Elements of Focus. I have a funny story actually to share, just a weird story of almost synchronicity. I had sold this print, a painting of this really, really large, a 38 by 48 inch canvas to a buyer in Calgary here. And she had taken it home and said, oh, I'll take a picture when I have it hung, and seemed really pleased with it. And I think she had just sort of forgotten that she said she would send me a picture. And I got busy and I wasn't really thinking anything of it. And it was a matter of like over a year later, I think it was almost 2 years later, after she came and picked this up at my home, this huge painting that is in her front space. And she reached out to me on Instagram on a morning where I was wanting to stage this piece by using an app to put it in. It's called an art room. And it's a way of, if you want to showcase your art but stage it, and say you don't want to stage it in your actual house, you pick a room from a digital background, a beautiful space, and then you put the art in the space, and it shows the client, the size and the feel. And it's just a way of really showcasing your art in a way that's maybe a bit better than just taking a picture of the art sitting, on your own wall or on your wood floor. But long story short, I went to put this painting in the art room, so through my app on the phone, and it was really, really fuzzy. And the odd thing is, I had titled this painting, the original, Elements of Focus, and it was all about how there's certain elements that I wanted to focus on in my art and my creative life. And the only photo I had of this painting was extremely blurry. So here I am that morning, and it wasn't even an hour later that my client messaged me on Instagram and said, I was thinking about you and I realized I never sent you a photo of your canvas on my wall in my living room, and here it is. And so I'm thinking like, okay, this is like crazy. I had my app on my phone open called Art Rooms. I'm looking at my painting, which I had titled Elements of Focus. And the funny thing was the painting was out of focus, and the client just absolutely had connected with me in this synchronicitous, I don't know if I'm saying that right. It was like synchronicity that she would reach out and say, hey, here's a picture of the painting. And so I used her room as my art background and I posted it on Instagram. So that was a bit of a long story, but it's just sort of how these things happen in our lives, which are really magical sometimes. And I think you can easily miss that, but that's just an example of synchronicity that I've had in my life, which I just feel it's kind of magical. And this is an acrylic painting I had painted this past year, and it was on wood panels, so very different than this watercolor painting on paper. And this one, it has the drip down there, but I was playing around with mountains, and I had titled this Strength in Nature. And this was a painting I had done in 2020, so I was thinking about how I need to be strong during lockdown and having, you know, a 2-year-old at the time, and just getting by working as a registered nurse. And I was thinking about how Mother Nature, the strength in the mountains and the elements, and also how I needed to be strong and resilient to get through that particular year, which I suppose now we're still kind of going through that stuff 4 years later. This is just another painting, The Grass is Always Greener. So I will pop over to my art poetry deck now, and this is a fresh deck, so it's a little bit stiff, but this box was damaged, and I really needed to upgrade the one I show on camera, because I had paint and my box cover was so rough, and I even had paint on some of the cards, so I thought, well, I better just showcase my art deck in its best form. And okay, so here is an example of that painting, Elements of Focus. And for the art deck, so this is, if you're just kind of tuning in, and if you don't know me or my work or my channel, I published this deck of cards, so 71 cards. This is the back of the card. And this is an example of one of the Mountain Works Elements of Focus that I decided to put in the deck. And I feel like the deck is a really cohesive body of my my best work. And I had added words that I wanted to remind myself of when I picked a card at random. So on the back of the deck, I said this, each card is a visual reminder that the present moment holds much beauty and guides us with new insights and inspiration. So very much what I'm trying to do for my YouTube channel here. This deck of cards can be a source of comfort and healing during difficult times. You can choose a card in the morning or at night, or whenever a thoughtful moment invites. Art holds the power of connection and evoking change. I'm grateful you chose my art poetry. And I was just thinking about how I connected with my client that day through this painting and through art. And it just, to me, like, blows me away that, you know, art can do that. And this show up, start the work, and see what happens. So it was really about, 2020, I just needed that escape. And so I painted my feelings a lot. I created so much work in 2020. But it was just showing up and starting the work, getting your running shoes on, even though you don't want to go out for a walk, just doing one step in the direction of what small goal, big goal you have, but just doing something to get there, just to show up. And it's incredible to see where your goals will take you. This is a painting that I did 4 years ago, so 2020, and here I am looking at it in this form of a deck of cards. And it just, like, I was still working as a registered nurse about 5 years ago, and I really hadn't started painting, probably, so it was about 7 years ago that I really became obsessed and passionate about the process of painting and art journaling. And I sold my first painting in December of 2019. And here I am now, like, just feeling so grateful. And I want you to know, you all, I know a lot of you have written me and you'd love to kind of get to a place where, you know, you're thinking about switching jobs or, you know, making changes. And, you know, if you are passionate about something, well, it's like this painting I had just painted. I'd written the words, if it lights you up, find a way to do it more. And so it's just, I really encourage you not to get discouraged, and these little steps add up to so much. I think I'm going to paint, I really, really just want to paint one more abstract landscape. Maybe I'll paint more. I haven't painted in, feels like a year, but it's probably only been maybe 5 days or a week, because I just have so much going on, all really, really good. Some other news is I think I'm probably going to be working with hiring an assistant, because I just can't continue to fulfill all these orders on my own. I can't continue all the website work. I really want that time to focus on being a mom and being able to paint. And so, yeah, that's another really exciting thing I wanted to share. So let's just, again, do color craving exercises. So getting out the materials you have. I'm working on 140-pound Arches cold pressed watercolor paper. And I'm just going to start with my favorite color, which I have in several palettes, but I love these pinks. So this is that Opera Pink. Might be mixed with a little something, but Opera Pink by Daniel Smith. And I'm just going to put it down. And I'm thinking about maybe the prairies, because I have seen them recently on my drive out in the rural areas of Alberta. I'm thinking of prairies and patches of, you know, fields of, whether it's mustard, it could be Opera Pink mustard, it could be, you know, just not worrying again about it being realistic. I'm going to just dip right into this orange on my Beam Paints palette, and I'm just going to maybe pull down a little square and have it blend together a bit. And I kind of want the square to be a different size, and maybe I'll just repeat it over here, slightly different shape. And immediately I'm craving gold. This is the same gold by Beam Paints as in this little shell. The shells, they are beautiful, the way you can just pull the pigment out. And I'm going to drop in gold, because I love dropping in gold over top of pinks and oranges and just seeing it kind of in an unexpected place. You don't see it so much now, but when your painting dries, you will be amazed what it looks like. I just feel like doing a little round shape up here, and I'm going to kind of dab this area here because it's quite wet. I'm going to reach for my little shell with the Beam Paints Wild Salmon. It's just got more of a beautiful kind of reddish pink shimmer. Maybe drop a little bit of it in over here. And this is calling my name to drip. So I know that I just have to drip it. And normally I would curve my paper a bit, but I'm not going to, just because I have this on a block, and I do want to keep it on a block because it's easier for you all to see if it doesn't buckle on video. So we have that drip, and now I'm going to add in, oh wow, I see it's raining here. We haven't had moisture in the form of rain for a long time. We've had moisture in the form of snow, of course, probably a week ago, or it feels like it was a week ago. I'm dipping into my Kuretake Art Nouveau set, and I'm going to drop in a little bit of that opaque color there, and maybe just do some stripes over here. And immediately I'm craving green. So I'm just gonna look for my, where is it? I like to use these little pieces of paper just to get some of the pigment off, clean off my brush, create new papers. And this watercolor, I'm gonna go back to my peanut butter jar. So I'll have to, if I sell this painting, I'll have to say that it contains, may contain peanuts, right? Okay, I'm gonna go to my Beam Paints Pumpkin Spice. Or wait, oh, that's Wild Salmon. This is Pumpkin Spice, or is it? Yes, it is Pumpkin Spice. And I'm going to maybe do another round shape, but very transparent. And maybe I'll kind of pull it down with the drip, which normally I don't do. So getting my brush a bit wet and just bringing that water down and just seeing how I feel as I'm painting. And I think I told you I was craving green and I got distracted. So I'm just gonna grab some green off of my Kuretake, my palette. This is a really beautiful sort of olive green, and just gonna do, maybe without touching that orange, I'm just gonna kind of see what I think of this shape. And I'm just gonna curve around here without touching all of the gold under here. And I'm sort of squinting my eyes and just deciding how I like that move that I had made by adding this in here. It almost reminds me of like maybe the back the back of an animal, like leaning over something. That's so funny. And then sometimes I won't be able to unsee that, right? But it doesn't matter until I'm finished the painting, and then we'll see. I do really want more of a green, so as much as I liked that color, I'm gonna go to, what color do I want to do? I'll go to maybe, you can just see I kind of mix up my colors, and I don't care too much that they're mixed up. That's just how I like to do my work. I'm gonna drop in, and I could see I need a bit more water on my brush and more paint, so more pigment, more water. That will help me when I'm trying to just drop in. Maybe I'm just gonna drop down into this shape. Be brave, because, you know, in my head, I'm like, oh, this is so far from my usual style, but this is just all about play. And then when I come back to this dried background, I'll be able to do some problem solving. I really, really love that art is like solving a puzzle, or, you know, problem solving. And if you can figure out how to solve the puzzle in your own style, how would you like to solve the puzzle in a way that you would like it? I really want to do like a lighter green, so I have that similar shade here, and I might add in white. So I'm gonna get my Beam Paints white, and I'm just gonna kind of drop it in and make that green more of an opaque. And I'm just gonna maybe pull that orange over. Ooh, I think I got paint on my phone, but that would not be the first time. So going a little bit more white, and then just another shape, and just seeing how I feel when those colors were blending. I really, really like that actually. And I want to add in a little bit more of that color, maybe up here, but in more of a triangular kind of a block, and kind of coming down just like that. animal shape underneath. And the cool thing about this is I'm not committed to it. I'm not loving it, but I'm not disliking it. I'm just sort of letting it communicate with me as I'm going. With each mark, we're having a conversation with each other, and I can turn it and then see it in a brand new light as a new landscape. And if you don't like it at all, you can always just cut it up. You can cut up certain colors you like. And I'm just trying to decide now what kind of colors do I want to do. I feel like I could use like a brighter orange. And I almost want to put more orange in here, and I want to be bold and do these half circles and then a really big one going through here. So if I wasn't filming, I don't know if I would be so bold. Sometimes I'm braver when I'm filming because I'm trying to sort of inspire you to, I'm trying to practice what I preach, right? So I really, really like that actually. And then I might just use the tip of my brush and do some little marks through there. And maybe, and I'm just using my round brush, which is a higher quality brush, and that helps with these little marks. But you can also use a water-soluble pencil crayon. You can get that same effect. And I can just show you actually. So if you have, this is, let me just get it. This is a really thick, it's called dark chrome yellow, and this is made in Germany, Faber-Castell. It's a very, very high quality watercolor pencil crayon, and I could have just used this. So I'll just show you up here. I'm gonna dip the end in water and really, really loosely, and then just go back and forth. And if I don't like it, I can, use water and make it into like a different color. This I had purchased actually on sale, and I had purchased it just, there was about, I don't know, maybe 10 of these really large water-soluble Faber-Castell pencil crayons at Kensington Art Supply here in Calgary. And I do like that size actually. I've never seen that larger size. Immediately I'm craving Robin's Egg by Beam Paints. So if you've seen a little robin's egg with those little speckles, this color is great. And sometimes I just squint my eyes and I get the color on and I kind of look back. I sit back and I decide, what do I want to do with it? This is becoming a very abstract landscape. And I almost want to put in a shape that's more going the opposite way. I'm not a huge fan of purples, so I'm noticing that I don't want to go too far over the pink because I'm not really keen on the purple. I don't like purple enough to want to pull it into this color palette. So the benefit of practice is you get to know what you like and what you don't like. So that's just from hours and hours and hours of mixing colors and then having purple come up and then just not really knowing how to pull it together in a way that I like. And so I'm going to drop in some of this Beam Paints Robin's Egg into the green. I can kind of see if this was in a garden or a field, a plot of land, it could be like little lettuce heads or not. It could be, really interesting flowers. And I just feel like it's quite beautiful. I'm craving immediately my Kuretake, I think it's called Carmine, Carmine, this really gorgeous orangey red. I'm going to get a lot of it on my brush and just deciding if I want to, I think, now what do I want to do? I want to, I'm sure you're like, please don't turn the page, but that's just the way that I paint. Okay, I'll do that. And I'm purposely not letting that go into the aqua, and I'm just kind of looking back and seeing if I like that, and I do, and that's not something I normally do in my work, where I would normally let those blend, but I'm kind of just putting in some shapes and not exactly letting everything touch. It is a little bit. I like this color so much that I almost want to add in a little bit of that color over here. For me, my love of watercolor comes from being able to layer. And trying to decide what colors am I craving now. I think I'm tiring out, so I'm going to prioritize self-care. And I'll probably finish up pretty soon. I'm using titanium gray, and you can see I had a Kuretake gray under here and I loved it, so I couldn't find it, and I ended up sticking in and purchasing Saskatchewan company's the Stone Ground Paint Co. Titanium Gray, and it's a really good gray. It's a good company. I'm gonna see if I almost want to add it in here, but I don't. I think this is all quite dry. Oh no, it's actually all right. So I just wanted to. I really like gray and pink side by side, and I just felt like it needed that neutral in here, so that's what we did. And I'm just gonna, while I'm sitting here, just clean up some of the little marks that I don't want on here. And just deciding, you can see now that this is drying, already there's more shimmer. So the wild salmon and the pumpkin spice from Beam Paints are drying in a way that it shows that beautiful, I think it's called mica, I'm not sure, but it's really, really pretty. And I think I'm probably gonna end the video here, and the next video, which I hope to get to this week, but I am in over my head with orders, and I'm so grateful, but until I sort of get somebody trained up to help me, I'm not sure where I'll be with my time, so I'm gonna kind of go week to week, but I haven't gone away. I will be coming back. I'll probably aim for at least one video a week. I would love to do a couple videos a week. We'll just see where this takes us, and just wanted to thank you all, and we will see you soon.